Spark Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and our mission is to build a future where no one needs to come out anymore. Together, we can create a world where everyone has the right to love, to succeed, to have a family, and to live a full, happy life. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm very happy to introduce you to my guest. His name is Alfred. Alfred, would you tell us where you're from and what you do?
I'm a Hong Kong lawyer. I do trust and estate planning, advising clients on all sorts of legal issues in relation to their personal life.
Mm-hmm. And where do you live?
I'm living in Hong Kong. Oh, very important information, isn't it?
Yes, it is. When I met you a few weeks ago in Taipei, I was shocked when you were on the legal panel in Men Having Babies conference. You were talking about non-existent legal support for LGBTQ community in Hong Kong. So I invite you here to bring awareness to our audience about the legal issue around LGBTQ community in other parts of the world. So do you mind speak to that?
We can talk about it in very great details, but I think the starting point is that there's no protection only because LGBT relationship is generally not recognized in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. I think that would be the beginning. And because of that, everything that comes with it is no longer that. If you look at our personal issues, we looked at whether a relationship is recognized or not. Most common form of relationship would be marriage. Mm-hmm. It is basically the origin of a lot of other relationships. For example, parentage, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, without the marriage, there's no parentage of the father, at least. But then the starting point is always marriage. And in Hong Kong, marriage is the union of one man and one woman to the exclusion of all others. So this is the basic. Mm-hmm. So with that interpretation, the same-sex marriage is not recognized under the Hong Kong law. There has been recent case law based on this discussion as to whether the marriage is confined to the union of one man and one woman. And in that respect, we look into basic law, and there seems to be interpretation that our basic law, the constitutional document, only recognizes the marriage of one man and one woman. But if anyone look into the basic law, they may have different interpretation, so it would be up to the court, actually the higher court in the later cases, to determine whether the definition of marriage has to be one man and one woman. That will be seen in future. And the only thing that I want to add at this juncture is that without the recognition of the same-sex relationship, there will be no parental right to the children in the same-sex marriage. There will be no divorce dealing with the dissolution of relationship between one man and one man, or one woman and one woman. Mm-hmm. As such legal relationship is legal, well-defined, or with full protection in other countries. So irrespective where the person is married, their dispute to the relationship in the same-sex one will not be dealt with in Hong Kong once and for all. Mm. And of course, the other things that comes with it is succession. If one person in the same-sex relationship passed away, the survivor may not receive the adequate protection that the law will deal with in the heterosexual marriage. So,
So you talk about marriage, divorce, succession. What about parental rights?
Parental rights, briefly, in the sense that, of course, same-sex relationship is very different in terms of parental right when we are talking about gay men and lesbians relationship. Right. Lesbian women in relation to the parental right, of course, the birth mother who conceives the baby and deliver the baby will be the birth mother. The same-sex partner does not have any right because the same-sex partner's marriage with the birth mother is not recognized. Right. So no parental right in that respect. And in terms of same-sex males who is having a relationship, having children, is even harder. And in that respect, we first of all talk about adoption. Adoption between two gay men, whether it's marriage or not, is not considered under the Hong Kong law as suitable parents.
Do men-gay couple have any options of having a family?
The only option for gay men to adopt children is making an application as a single man. And there are a lot of restrictions in that respect, in the sense that, first of all, the adoption must be through the legal channel. Secondly, single man can only adopt a boy in order to avoid child marriage and child abuse and etc., which, of course, in the modern age is ridiculous. But then the first thing is that because the person who wants to be a parent is a single man, his priority will be under heterosexual couples who are generally believed as more capable to provide a better home for the adopted children. So with so many parents who want to adopt children, their priority will become very low, and we seldom come across any case where single men can adopt a child through official channel. In the past, private adoption is feasible, but this option has been abolished by the Hong Kong government in the past 10 years. So adoption becomes like a infeasible option for single men, for gay men. The other possibility is through surrogacy, and that's what we talked about at the conference that we met each other. And surrogacy is illegal in Hong Kong, even if the surrogacy arrangement is fully overseas. So surrogacy becomes non-popular in Hong Kong because of the intimidation of people breaching the law, and also the geographical distance also render the surrogacy very inconvenient. And besides, and I'm sure you will agree with me, surrogacy is indeed a very complicated arrangement.
I agree, it is.
Between birth parents, the egg donor, the surrogate mother, a lot of procedures are involved, a lot of legislation are involved, and because it's conducted overseas, how to bring the baby back to Hong Kong become another legal issues. Right. So it's three stages process that make the whole surrogacy arrangement becomes very, very difficult, if not impossible.
Yes, that was a lot of information. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm in a class in a law school.
In 10 minutes.
Yes, in 10 minutes.
A 10 minutes quick fix.
Yes, a quick view on marriage, divorce, succession. Just to sum it all, and I do have a couple of questions just to make sure that I understood it right. So the marriage is only recognized between a man and a woman.
Correct.
And that's how the family is recognized. So therefore, the divorce is not recognized between the same sex because the marriage between the same sex doesn't exist. But if they're same-sex living couple and one of them pass away, the succession law doesn't apply to the surviving partner, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I want you to pause for a minute, and if you don't mind, explain what is the recognition of a single parent. So if it's a man, he's only allowed to adopt a boy. What about if it's a woman?
She can only adopt a girl if she's adopting as a single parent.
Okay. Is anywhere in the law being a single parent as sufficient, or they also need to express if they're gay or not?
In the process of adoption, there will be a lot of interviews with the social welfare department, adoption unit, and as you can imagine, the social worker who is looking into the background of the intended parent must go through a very comprehensive checklist as to the living environment, the income, and the lifestyle, and all this, in order to make sure that whether that's suitable to be a parent. And lifestyle, in terms of homosexuality, is a very, very important part. And of course, the social worker is not going to say, oh, you are not going to be a parent because you are gay. Because having said that, I must emphasize that there's no sexual orientation discrimination law in Hong Kong. LGBT community can be discriminated against, and there is no ramification for it. But what I want to say is that just because a parent is gay, does not preclude him from becoming an adopting parent. It's just that whether that would be considered not unfavorably is not something that can be traced.
We're not going to discriminate you if you're a gay man, if you want to adopt a child, but we're going to limit you that child needs to be a boy.
Because you're a gay man, only because you're a single male, adopting as a single male.
Oh, it's because you're a single man, not because you're a gay
Correct.
man. Okay. That was valuable information, and wow. Now I want to ask you, where are you standing in all this?
Where am I standing in all this?
Yes, what is your personal opinion as a man and not as a lawyer?
Of course, in terms of advising the client, we do not put our personal opinion in front.
Right.
But if you look at the situation and the lack of protection and the prejudice suffered by the LGBT community, I believe that irrespective of your religious belief, irrespective of your morality standard or your background, one should all believe that any injustice created because of the legal system should be addressed properly.
Very well said. So what do you think we can do so we could make the LGBTQ community feel more protected by law?
Well, first of all, I believe there has to be a proper message to the community in order to make them understand that discrimination or this kind of injustice is wrong. I mean, if you consider, for example, stealing is wrong.
Yes.
If you consider rape or indecent assault is wrong. Discrimination against certain community based on the sexual orientation should also be wrong.
Right.
If it says discrimination law against people based on gender, race, or family position, are wrong, then the same logic should also apply to people's gender and their sexuality. I think it is as simple as that. And even though nowadays there are still a lot of people in the society, there's a bit of confusion over this concept.
Yes.
I think discrimination should be addressed properly on the wrong side of it. That is, it is simply wrong. It's not because of the individual belief. It's because the act itself is wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
As simple as that.
And as a society, I mean, if I learn that being gay and married gay partner is illegal, that automatically tells me that it's wrong.
Yes.
Because as a member of society, I want to follow the law. So if I don't have a law for something or the law is against it, that means that it's illegal. That means that it's wrong.
Yes. A lot of time people are confused that LGBT equality or discrimination against sexual orientation is controversial. Doesn't have the society consensus because of the individual value or perspective, such as religion. The same-sex marriage challenge traditional marriage in the sense of challenging a traditional concept of marriage, which is the union of one man and one woman as prescribed by Bible or whatever other religious publication. This is one of the major opposition to the traditional, wasted by the traditional value or traditional family. In that respect, I can only say that just because you're legalizing the same-sex marriage doesn't make the traditional heterosexual marriage less sacred.
Yes, absolutely. It's not detrimenting the other people, it's just including these people. So how long is gonna take until we all could just open our hearts and just be humans?
This is a question that I've been constantly asked, and unfortunately, it's not. I don't see it being observed anytime soon in Hong Kong.
Well, I really hope that the law will change in Hong Kong sooner than we think.
In Hong Kong, it's not particularly easy.
How come?
Because of our system of politics and the judiciary and the interesting dynamic between the Chinese government and the Hong Kong government. And I can only say that it is a complicated process that would take time, but I don't know how long it would take.
Right. We wish you know. Do you have any advice for those that don't feel necessarily protected by law?
My answer to this would be the same as any other couples. be it as heterosexual or homosexual, be it as transgender or any other relationship. When we're talking about relationship, there has to be parameter and definition, and it is there are boundaries. It's up to the parties in the relationship to set their boundaries, defines their rules, make it all comfortable and workable. Even in business relationship, there are contracts that are written with thousands of pages or more than one document in order to govern each party's rights and responsibility. Even for the heterosexual couples, before they enter into marriage, they may consider agreements such as prenup or even postnup in order to ring-fence their family wealth or define each other's rights in the event of the occurrence of some event, for example, divorce. Same for same-sex marriage, same-sex relationship. Everything, if anyone is risk-averse, they should go to a lawyer who have dealt with similar situation before, highlight the risk that they may have to look into, and make necessary documents to protect each other, be it as agreement among the parties in relation to their wealth or in terms of the succession by making a will and doing power of attorney or advanced health directives or other directions in relation to the post-mortem affairs. These are all things that can be done with papers that are drafted properly by someone who has experience in drafting these documents and put it in place in order to give the other party a sense of comfort, especially when we are dealing with a relationship with one party being the breadwinner and another one being the financial dependent.
Right.
Some people may have a joint finance, say yours is mine, mine is yours, and some people may have decided or chosen to be completely financially independent. I believe that in the modern world, people should have their own freedom to choose what sort of lifestyle and what sort of arrangement that they want to have with their another half in building up their relationship. But these are all to be properly governed with proper documentation. That is to avoid future dispute because as a family lawyer, I understand when disputes arise, it's particularly ugly and heart-wrenching.
Pretty much always.
Pretty much always, correct. So that's why this is important when people enter into a relationship to think carefully about what is it that they want to have, what are the boundaries, and review on a regular basis in order to make sure that each party's expectation towards each other are met, and knowing how to deal with any dispute if such dispute arise, because it is particularly difficult to handle the situation when people are overwhelmed or blinded by emotion.
Right. It's a great advice to define what is the relationship, what is everyone's role in that relationship, and make documents about it. So then when unexpected events happen and we are driven by emotions, we have those documents in place that we've been agreed upon. Right? Correct.
And this is particularly important in the same-sex relationship because their relationship is not recognized and protected by the law.
Yes, like it's a must because if something happened with you, your partner is not covered.
Correct. And I can tell you, if you give me another 30 minutes, I can tell you all these horror stories that I come across in the LGBT community.
I could only imagine. And that could be another episode because you know what? You're right. We do need to bring awareness around those horror stories, especially now with the access to technology and we could reach people around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So for now, I just want to thank you for all the valuable information that you bring us today. And before we close, is there anything else that you might want to add?
I only want to add one thing. That is, as you properly appreciate, the world becomes very small nowadays compared to before. In the sense that people's mobility are much higher. People can move from one place to another, and but with different laws, people will be in a very different different situation in terms of the same issues.
Right.
The same-sex relationship, the recognition, and how to deal with the issues surrounded by it is already a very good example. I just want to highlight one thing is that if anyone get married in other jurisdictions, for example, in the US or in New Zealand, once they move back to Hong Kong, if something wrong to happen to them and they're in the same-sex relationship, I'm not too sure where can they get divorced.
Wow.
If you think about it, let's say, for example, I'm getting married with my local partner, and we decided that New Zealand is a beautiful country where we can have our dream wedding. And we go down and file our notice, get married in the city registry, and have our beautiful wedding. After, I can't know how long, we decide that we are no longer capable of living with each other. I would very much suspect that the New Zealand court would have any jurisdiction to hear our divorce because neither of us are living or have any connection with New Zealand.
Is this where we run into immigration law? Because you are not a resident in New Zealand to get divorced, but you cannot divorce in Hong Kong because they don't recognize your marriage.
Correct. So this is, I believe, something that a lot of people have never thought about, and they don't know what to do with it. So I would take this opportunity to remind anyone who is hearing your podcast to think twice before going into a marriage.
Great advice. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm so grateful and so impressed for the amount of good contact that you fit into this short time.
Thank you very much for your compliment.
It's been such a pleasure having you here.
Let me know if there's anything else I can help.
Thank you, Alfred. I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to Redefine Family, a Spark Transformation podcast. Feel free to share your story, knowing that your story could change someone's life. We invite you to spread the love by sharing our message with others. And leave your comments at spark@redefinefamily.com. Until next time, remember that you are the spark in your life. Just shine bright.